Hi everyone. I thought that it's Lindley here. I just thought I'd do a video because I have organised and am promoting the Give a Little for Joy Zilla Clark, who runs Little Critters Rescue in Whanganui. And I just thought maybe a video might be easier to explain a little bit about the rescue and a little bit about Joy rather than simply writing all the time. Yeah, so I sort of just try another avenue and see how that goes. So, firstly, I'll just tell you a little bit about Joy and Little Critters Rescue. So, Little Critters Rescue has been running for a little while. Joy has answered some of the questions that I asked her about the rescue. And I thought I'd just share them with you on a video. It looks like she grew up in Japan and she started rescuing animals at the age of 6, such as budgies that escaped from the tenement buildings and would sort of collapse in the neighbourhood. And she'd take them home, a rooster from the rice paddy, behind our house, a black kitten that the neighbours were suspicious of because of colour, and tiny lizards and frogs that she rescued from other children in the neighbourhood who would amputate their legs and tails because apparently in Japan in the 1970s you could buy veterinary kits for doing such horrible, revolting things. She said that they'd see animal carcasses in the back of trucks and sometimes would be fed whale or horse meat, and they didn't know until afterwards. Joy is currently vegan. She's recently gone vegan, and that's fantastic. She went vegetarian at 51 after rescuing a lamb and sort of reaching into the fridge to make a ham sandwich, she said, and her arm just sort of froze, and she thought, I can't do that. I guess these moments of clarity that we have, many of us have experienced them, having grown up in meat eating culture, and having this epiphany moment when we've realised, hang on a minute, I can't eat that, that's an animal, especially when we're involved in the rescue of animals and caring for them. Sort of making that connection is really significant and important. So she is currently vegan, and she says, from what she's told me, she was a very compassionate child, as a lot of animal rescuers were, and felt very keenly and very deeply for animals that they witnessed suffering. She said in Japan she saw a dead dog in the street, a stray with his eyes wide open, and she's still affected by that poor dog. No one wanted it and no one cared, even as she lay dead on a busy street. I remember stopping to look at her, even though I could not bear to do so, and I was 7. That's actually quite a powerful experience to have as a 7-year-old. And I guess, for very compassionate and empathetic children, these can actually be very scarring and traumatic experiences to have. These experiences as children can often drive us as adults into rescuing animals and trying to change the world that is so difficult to live in. And I know a lot of people on the site feel the same way. For whatever reason she went vegan. Many people have gone vegan because of the animals, and other people have gone vegan for environmental or health reasons, or perhaps all three. But for those people who have that deep empathy and connection and compassion for animals, I think we can all resonate with Joy's experience. She has family members, her great auntie Zilla, which is such a cool name, and Nana Una, and they had 18 cats at any one time that had found her. And she started rescuing as an adult at the age of 20. Sounds like she was rescuing as a child as well. 37 years now. Little Critters Rescue was established in 2016. And I think after the vets asked to come up with a name, and start a separate account for the rescues. They have 2 young pigs rescued from the meat industry, 2 sheep, 30-odd rescue dogs and chickens, and a lot of cats and a rescue chihuahua. Then in December, a friend contacted them to say she had a new cat freshly dumped on the beach, and since they'd already adopted a lot of cats from the beach, that needed daily feeding and fresh water. She, she's now involved in feeding these dumped cats, 37 of them, and the numbers keep increasing in this particular area. She says they stir very deep emotions in her: unwanted, unloved, often with something wrong, untrusting, frightened, hungry, cold. We all experience those things as humans. How much worse is it for a cat with no power, no voice, no resources? She says she can't ever say no, and I know that is very difficult because I've been involved in animal rescue myself, and it is very hard to turn animals away, especially when you know that you may be their last chance. It's really hard. So the more we can support Joy in her work, the more she's able to do so in a comfortable way. Okay, she needs. She says, my biggest concern is the vet bills and the cost of feeding 39 cats a day. We are at the vet for 2 or 3 times a week, always with a rescue. And I don't know if many of you saw the photo I put up recently of the cat with the eye that was infected. And she said that this often happens, that they get these cats and the eyes actually burst. It's really awful. But, we all know how expensive vet bills are. She says that people who support and donate are 100% part of a rescue store because they share with us in the food and the funds. And I agree with that totally, because it's impossible to help animals by yourself often. We do need the support of other people to rescue animals and to make it a viable option, especially when there's no one else doing it. And people come to know that you're the one who will take in an animal. And you often get asked when it's very difficult to do that, and you do that at great emotional cost to yourself. So I speak from the experience of rescuing calves with starfish. I understand how difficult it is, and I don't actively rescue calves at the moment because we have just too many in the system that I need to make sure that I have funds available for them if they need to be moved, all that kind of thing. So really, it's hard work. She says that Hoo Ha helped her with food over lockdown because in this COVID environment we could not. It says we could not help. People are struggling so much. And one thing that hasn't changed is the number of animals that need help. Maybe it's just that more people are aware we can help, but there are more being dumped than ever. 5 in a single day a few weeks ago. They trap them. That can take hours of time, and sometimes they leave without enemy. They've had donated shelters that they put up in the sand dunes, which have been stolen. So what Joy does is trap, de-sex, feed, vet care, and rehome where possible. So for those worried about cats in terms of conservation for environmental reasons is a valid concern. They are disruptive on ecologies. But this is helping to take cats out of those situations by reducing the number of kittens being born and rehoming them. I also understand some vegans may have concerns with regards to buying cat food that comes from the meat industry itself, and perfectly valid reason for if you decide, this is something that you wish to contribute to. However, for me personally, having to buy calf milk for bobby calves, I think that there's always going to be contradictions. There's always going to be a certain level of imperfectness. We live in an imperfect world, and if we operate from the basis of compassion and empathy, I think we're making the right choice. That's my personal philosophy in life, but I understand everyone's different. I'm just wanting to inform you a little bit more about the rescue, a little bit more about Joy, so you know who she is, that she is actually vegan like us as well, and that she's doing wonderful things for the animals. So if you can spare $2, $5, $10, $20, $50, $100, $1,000, $1,000,000, any amount of money would be wonderful. Thank you for your compassion. Thank you for your support. And let me know if this video was helpful in explaining a little bit more and helping to fundraise. Just a new thing I'm trying. Okay. Ka kite anō, bye.